stabbed him in the heart.
I knew it.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Mythbusters. I'm Chris.
And I'm Giles. Today we're going to tackle the myth that Bruce Jr. really does drive as bad as a blind cat. No, I'm just playing.
Alright, we're going to challenge the myth that Jesus did not rise from the dead.
Well, let's start with the tomb.
First things first, we need to assess the emptiness of the tomb.
Yes, how do we know that the tomb really was empty?
Well, what are our options and our evidences?
Well, let's get started.
Let's go. Here we are back at the Mythbusters lab. Before we prove that Jesus did in fact rise from the dead, we must prove that his tomb was empty. So if it was still occupied, what are the possibilities?
Possibility 1. The disciples forgot where the tomb was. But I find that hard to believe if the tomb really belonged to one of the disciples. Second one was that the women were there. They dressed Jesus on Friday. So how could they forget where the tomb was? And the Roman guards were guarding the tomb.
Possibility number 2. They hallucinated that the correct tomb was empty. Now when you hallucinate, you hope and expect for things that are unreal. Now if this was true, both the Jews and the Romans would have been hallucinating about the same thing.
Clearly, the tomb was not occupied.
It was empty. And now we're back with Mythbusters. Now first we have this empty tomb. But how did it really get there?
Well, there's two options. One is that Jesus was alive and somehow got up and walked out the tomb, or Jesus was dead and somehow was removed from the tomb.
Now, honestly, do people really believe that Jesus was still alive in his tomb?
Well, this is known as the swoon theory. It was something like this. Jesus really didn't die from the crucifixion, but was kind of knocked out, and after a few days' rest, was revived and walked out the tomb.
Now, can this theory really pass our stringent tests? First, the Romans were experts in death. Now, they were held accountable for their prisoners if they were not properly executed. To ensure that when Jesus was on the cross, to ensure that he was dead, they stabbed him in the heart to see if he was dead and not just napping. And now we're going to this video to test that theory. I'm about to test the theory that Jesus was still alive when the Romans pierced him in the chest on the cross. So I'm about to test this on Rich to see if he reacts when I poke him in the chest.
Ow, man! What are you doing?
This proves the fact that Jesus was dead when the Romans pierced him in the chest on the cross.
Wow, that is convincing. Well, it also means that after being brutally beaten, that Jesus got up, walked past the guards, and got to his disciples.
Now, this also means that Jesus deceived his disciples. Now, who would believe that this bruised, limpy guy was the Messiah?
I mean, even the Jews didn't even embrace this possibility.
Now, let's get real, people. It is ridiculous to think that Jesus wasn't dead. So now we have this dead Jesus and an empty tomb. So how could this be?
Well, we already know that the tomb was empty and that Jesus was dead. So it leaves us with two possibilities. That either he was removed by someone other than God, or he was removed by God.
Now, who are some of the possible suspects of the theft of Jesus' body? First, we have the disciples, a gardener, Jews, Romans, aliens, or even worms. Now, let's test these theories.
Shalom. My name is Jacob. I am here to address the theory that the Jews have taken the body of Jesus of Nazareth. This theory is completely false. If anything, the Jews were trying to stop the resurrection message from spreading. If this had happened, the Jews would immediately produce the body and rode it down the streets of Jerusalem to prove that the resurrection was false. We do not know where the body is, but the Jews did not take it.
Friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ears. Obviously, this is not a case of the Romans taking Jesus' body. One, they had no motive to take Jesus' body for any reason. Two, they wanted to suppress the uprisings and not start new ones. And they certainly would have produced Jesus' body if they would have found it. So, leave the Romans out of this. This is not the case of the thieves stealing Jesus' body. First, there's a problem with the Roman guards. The thieves would have to slip past the Roman guards untouched. Another thing, thieves steal valuables, unlike this petty watch that I just stole. Another thing, a 220-pound dead corpse is hardly my idea of stealing something. Even though thieves may be guilty of stealing other stuff, they were not guilty of stealing Jesus' body.
Hi, my name is Bob from Evergreen Grass. I'm a gardener. I like to speak on behalf of all of us. There's no way that we would steal the body of Jesus Christ. I mean, we're Christians too. What's the motive? I mean, what am I going to do? All I have is a shovel. And what am I going to do? Kill the Roman guards? They have swords. They've been trained since they was little tots. So there's really no reason. Please just leave us out of your accusations, please.
The case of the deceitful disciples. According to the Jewish story, the disciples took Jesus' body to cover up the resurrection. But why would the disciples die for a lie? 10 disciples ended up dying because of what they were preaching. And also this ignores the fact that they would have to fight off the guards. 10 fishermen fighting off a whole bunch of Roman soldiers. What did they throw? Nets at them? So this is obviously not the case of a deceitful disciple.
I come in peace. My name is Gordon from planet Oregon. I am here to inform you that we are not to blame for the body stolen. There's no empirical evidence that we even exist. Keep us in your movies, not in your accusations.
Okay, hold up. This is getting ridiculous.
So let's review.
Either the tomb was occupied or the tomb was empty. Tomb was empty.
Now either Jesus was dead or he was alive. Jesus was definitely dead.
He was removed by God or removed by someone else. Removed by God.
So the myth that Jesus did not rise from the dead has officially been busted.